Our world depends on electricity. Without it, where would we be? The screen would look like this. And how would all of this be powered? This is thanks to the genius of two men, Thomas Alva Edison and Nikola Tesla, the feud that lit the world, the battle of two inventors that changed our lives forever. Nikola Tesla was born on July 10th, 1856. He was the most renowned engineer known for designing the alternating current, or otherwise known as AC. AC is still used across the world today. Born in what is now Croatia, Tesla came to the United States in 1884 working for Thomas Edison. Thomas Alva Edison was born on February 11th, 1847 in Milan, Ohio. He was 9 years older than Tesla. Later, he moved to Michigan and stayed there for the rest of his childhood. He was a prolific inventor and came up with 1,093 official patents and hundreds of unpatented inventions. The popular press portrayed Tesla and Edison fighting with each other about each other's inventions. There are many rumors about how each hated the other.
This conflict between Edison and Tesla that didn't, for the most part, exist in reality. It's a historically highly inaccurate depiction of both their relationship and who they were as individuals as well. A lot of the current sort of mythology is a sort of modern understanding that of Edison as just being a business guy who took other people's work and patented it himself, and Tesla being the genius, right, the geek, and that's just nonsense. Anybody who's spent any time looking at Edison materials would know that Edison was at least as much of a geek as Tesla was.
The history of Tesla and Edison is not as negative as one might think. They have argued with each other on the so-called War of Currents, but our modern power grid is the compromise of this feud. Edison laid down the basics such as Pearl Street Station, which provided energy to Manhattan. Tesla later improved on this. Edison and Tesla respected each other and thought of each other as formidable rivals. One of the most popular myths is that Thomas Edison played a practical joke on Tesla, offering him $50,000 if he could make an improved version of the DC motor. This turned out to be done by Charles Batchelor, the head of Edison Electric in Europe and Edison's first right-hand man. Tesla went straight to work and eventually came up with it, and Batchelor laughed it off and said it was an American joke. In any case, Tesla resigned from the company and started his own business with Charles Westinghouse.
So Tesla came to work under Batchelor and then was recommended to come to the U.S. when Batchelor returned in 1884. Batchelor took over the Edison Machine Works as the general manager, and Tesla was one of the higher paid employees of Machine Works. The superintendent, who was somebody else, not Batchelor, at some point, according to Tesla's reminiscences, offered him $50,000 if he could make certain improvements in the generators, which were being manufactured by the company. And then Tesla claimed that he did this. When he went to the guy to collect, he said, it's just an American joke. This is highly likely that something like that happened, whether it was $50,000 or some other amount. Tesla was not a kind of a rough-hewn guy like a lot of the people in the shop were, right? He didn't come out of the shop culture. He came out of more of a European education culture. It was more refined. And in that machine shop culture, there was a lot of practical jokes that were played, especially on people who didn't quite fit in, and Tesla clearly didn't quite fit in. His whole style, right, was very European, and so it's very likely that some kind of practical joke was played on him, and he clearly found this very, very difficult to deal with. Person who wrote the most recent really good biography of Tesla, a guy named W. Bernard Carlson, talks about how he was happy to leave the Edison Machine Works because he felt he'd been mistreated, but it wasn't by Edison.
Thomas Edison provided all the basics for Tesla to succeed, so without both of them, this world would not be the same. Thomas Edison had indeed come up with a prototype for AC power, but dismissed the idea as much too dangerous for the world for the moment. He wanted to use DC for cities because there's less chance for a fire to break out with direct current. Edison kept working on his direct current and new inventions, while Tesla was expanding the range of AC power. One of the things that made Edison so successful is that he was a good businessman and could make a name for himself. However, Tesla was often behind the scenes working on theories. People think of Edison as someone who stole inventions from other people, but Edison had a lot of his own inventions and he improved on most of others' ideas. Their inventions changed history because if Edison never succeeded in his career, you would not be watching this video. Had Tesla never come to the US, we might not have alternating current. Their feud is how major electric companies were formed and many improvements to both methods were created because of this. Our own power grid is the compromise.
Electric power is everywhere present in unlimited quantities. It can drive the world's machinery without the need of coal, oil, gas, or any other fuel. This new power for the driving of the world's machinery will be derived from the energy which operates the universe, the cosmic energy.
Even though 90% of electricity is alternating current, we would not have cell phones, TV, or hybrid cars without Edison and direct current. Even though Edison lost the war of currents and AC became the method of choice for transmitting energy, largely because it is somewhat practical over long distances and DC is not at all, up until 2007, there were still about 1,600 customers in New York City receiving their power in the form of DC rather than AC. Without Tesla coming to challenge Edison, trillions of dollars would have been wasted due to wasted energy from direct current.
If we think about the way the electrical system operates today, the basic system is essentially what Edison invented. The larger distribution system, right, long distance, high voltage distribution of electricity, that is largely the work of Nikola Tesla. He didn't invent high voltage alternating current, but he figured out a system that made it more efficient and made it better for motors, which was really important in competing with Edison's DC system. And it allowed for much bigger networks. So today we have a grid that's basically made up of 6 large networks, right? That wouldn't have been possible without the Tesla AC polyphase system.
This war of currents changed human history to a new age. This also empowered technology, and we still use it today. Edison started his quest to light the world and made it a reality in major cities. Nikola Tesla brought it to the suburbs and the rural areas, making the magical power of electricity known to everyone, everywhere. They're different inventors, but you can't really say one is greater because the American society needs some Edisons and it needs some Teslas, said W. Bernard Carlson, the author of Tesla, inventor of the electrical age. The history shows Edison and Tesla respected each other deeply. In 1917, the Edison Medal recognized the great idea of Tesla, whose technology had been used not only to illuminate the cities, but as the almost universal means to transform electrical energy into mechanical energy. When Edison died in 1931, Tesla wrote this in the New York Times: "The reoccurrence of a phenomenon like Edison is not very likely. He will occupy a unique and exalted position in the history of his country."
There's no sense in his reminiscences that there's any animosity with Edison. Fairly favorable things to say about Edison.
The era of these two can easily be the golden age of electricity. Let us remember both of them for their imagination and hard work today, and not for their feud.